it's Emmy Speens, and welcome back to another video or whatever. Today we are talking about Escape from Tarkov, an online extraction shooter game by Battlestate Games. It is a game that is in early access, released way back in 2017, a story as old as time, that at one point you could purchase for $50, but now it seems to get full enjoyment out of the game. The devs, Battlestate Games, expect you to shill out $250. Yes, I know I said in the title that you'd be paying $250 for DLC, but it seems like they're paywalling some features that community members, Escape from Tarkov has like a really dedicated community, they're saying that was promised in a previous DLC that they purchased. So let's take this back a little bit and I'll break it all down. Years back, Escape from Tarkov fans were invited to purchase the Edge of Darkness edition for $150. This would include all future DLC that would become available for purchase, because remember, this game is still in early access. It's not even, been released. This Edge of Darkness edition included the promise of future DLC and said that explicitly, that DLC would be included in the Edge of Darkness purchase, right? We're all on the same page, we got it, good, great. This newly announced edition, Unheard edition, I don't really get it, I don't understand. Like Edge of Darkness, yeah, I can get behind, like with a shooter, whatever, but Unheard edition? Anyway, the Unheard edition, they just recently announced for $250. They announced this DLC that includes an entirely new PvE mode for this online extraction shooter game, which previously didn't have that. Previously, I guess it was just like a battle royale type thing. In addition to that new game mode, they also have other advantages, items and buffs, and things that in a game like this, I'm understanding, that is so resource-based and like survival focused, those things really add up. Like any little advantage really makes a world of difference. So I think players were particularly aggrieved not just at this whole new game mode that they felt should have been included in the DLC umbrella. Again, we'll get into it. But also all of these little advantages that really like add up. Some of them include reducing threat that you pull from like enemy AI, where you're not like getting attacked as much. That's a pretty significant advantage in a survival game. Is it worth $250? I don't know, but honestly, the $150 edition is probably a stretch for me in the first place, so let's, I guess, keep it pushing, because these people's idea of what is and isn't reasonable is a little higher than mine, but I think even they think like 250 is on the upper end. Anyway, I think what makes this really interesting is that like a couple weeks ago, the company actually announced microtransactions for cosmetics. So they're already implementing other forms of monetization, which is great. I'm saying, in fact, like I think that's a good thing to monetize, like things like cosmetics and optional things, rather than pay to win features in a game where the community takes it pretty seriously. Do you know what I mean? I think, honestly, pay to win is like such a weird thing. I think you can get away with it in some online games, like something like Unserious or like casual, certain parts of Fortnite. I don't know, people are gonna come for my heads for that. But it seems like Escape from Tarkov is built for a particularly meticulous type of player. So I do wonder, like, what did they think was gonna happen? Like, of course this was gonna enrage people, that they upset the balance so dramatically. Yeah, I get the impression that it's a pretty tough, resource-focused game where abundance and advantages and those positive buffs can give you a leg up and pack a punch in a very different way. And when it's an online like battle royale thing where you're playing against other people, pay to win seems particularly egregious. So let's talk a little bit about the $150 Edge of Darkness edition. Remember, I had said previously that it did include all future DLC for the game Escape from Tarkov when it was released, right? Like, it explicitly said that. When the Unheard edition was announced, it was made clear to Edge of Darkness owners that the developer, Battlestate Games, did not consider Unheard edition and the entirely new game mode to be DLC. They said that its infrastructure was so divorced from the base game, it was basically like an entirely new game. In one respect, I get it. But because that's the price that only seems justifiable, and it'd be a really big stretch if you were releasing an entirely new game, right? But you still can't just get away with not making good on your promise to give all of those Edge of Darkness owners their earned DLC, because you're obviously, and this is my next point, having money problems. Like, obviously, with the cosmetic monetization, this entirely new game mode that they're trying to monetize, like, it seems like they're struggling to finish parts of the game that didn't need entirely new infrastructure, and they need an influx of cash quick. Like, it's so desperate, it's so almost underhanded in a way that I just don't think they were thinking clearly, and something that makes me feel like they wouldn't be thinking clearly is desperation for money, especially like an indie developer, you know? I mean, 250 is that's a big ask. I feel like 150 on top of, sorry, I'm like rattling, on top of a $150 game, that is a huge ask. But if the game is good and the developer, which it seems like they have been communicative throughout these past few years in early access and stuff, I mean, now we're coming up on like eight years, right? 7 years in early access now. You can get away with that, and especially because you do need to sustain a team for nearly a decade. I get that. That's expensive. This is like, people in the community are clearly passionate about it, so I can only imagine how passionate the devs are, right? I'm not trying to undermine that. And I think sometimes what gets lost in these conversations, like with my Watcher video, I think people are losing track that like the people on the other end do care about this. Like, they can care about it and also like want to make money. Like, you can kind of fall into that trap of needing money for X, Y, and Z. Either you're greedy or you just want to make more to sustain a certain lifestyle, or you like actually need it. In the case of these developers, sometimes that supersedes other things. Like, you lose sight of that. And it seems like this developer's communication style is quite blunt and aggressive based on the screenshots I will share here of his little Reddit explanations. He doesn't seem really that empathetic to people's concerns. He said that we observed people's discontent, like we observed it, and they are upset that the community is upset, but not that they upset them. You know what I mean? Like, it's so interesting to watch this guy run circles around the word, I'm sorry, we fucked up. You know, like, it'd be so easy to just say that. A little more humility is needed in a situation where you are asking for hundreds of dollars for a game that is not even, I mean, I think now it is out of beta. I'll put a correction on the screen and make fun of myself or whatever, if that's true. I'll put whatever's correct on the screen, right? But I think you do need to have a little more grace for your community, and I think they get to be a little dramatic about this. And I don't even think they are being dramatic about this. I think this is a crazy ask that was followed up by a really crazy, unempathetic, cold, brisk apology, if you can even call it that, / explanation. So the devs came out and responded to all of the understandable backlash to this $250 Unheard edition that was not considered DLC despite the new game mode. They came out and they said that even though they still don't consider the Unheard edition DLC, even though it has an entirely new game mode, they did reverse course. The first time they only gave a discount to Edge of Darkness holders, and now all Edge of Darkness holders will be slowly phased into the PvE experience that is part of the Unheard DLC. So, you know, it's not a super big win. They also mentioned that they're going to be leveling out some of the advantages, the items, the buffs that are in the Unheard edition, and giving Edge of Darkness new buffs and new, you know, things. They also gave Edge of Darkness players a discount if they wanted to upgrade to the Unheard edition. I can't imagine many people are taking advantage of that. I don't know why they didn't just do this in the first place. It feels almost like if they had opened up a market shop with super, super low prices, like comparable to those, if not lower, like those in their cosmetic shop. If they made a market for buffs and little things like that, I feel like, yeah, people would still have an issue with the pay to win argument, but I feel like that would be more palatable. I think there's a lot of ways the developer could have asked the community for some support, for some financial support. Now it feels like they kind of burned that bridge, because like I said, when they tried to apologize the first time, they didn't even fully course correct. They only gave a partial discount to Edge of Darkness holders. It was only in the second announcement where people were like really, really pushing back and really mad that they said that Edge of Darkness players would be all allowed, like without cost to them ever into the PvE game mode. That was their second announcement. They had to like come back a second time to get it right, and even then they were really stubborn about, like, just say you made a mistake and go back to the drawing board. Even if you say like we don't know what we're going to do now, but we still need an influx of cash and we fucked up. Like, I think people at this rate on the internet are so much more willing to forgive human error and human error on behalf of like anxiety and like real financial stress and like real, like, I do think people are empathetic usually if you're honest with them. Of course there's a limit to that. Of course, like, it depends on who you are, but like game developers of a beloved game like this, where people are literally keeping up with them 7 years out, I do think this game dev had the social capital to go to their community and be like, we are struggling and we fucked up here, but we'd like to do better, and we need like advice on how to get through this rough patch, because we need to meet X, Y, and Z to upgrade our servers. Which it seems like that the server upgrade issue, like being able to accommodate the number of Edge of Darkness holders on the new game mode servers, like that was an issue. But it feels like you should finish your first game before you have to make completely new infrastructure for a second. Like, I'm really confused at that. Like, if it's such a different game, why didn't you just finish your first game? Anyway, so it feels like a wasted opportunity to really like build a bridge, but they burned it. Wow, that was so poetic of me. Huh. Anyway, yeah, so that is all about the $250 DLC for a game that isn't even fully out yet, called Escape from Tarkov. I don't think I'll be checking it out because it's way out of my price range, and like even for a stream, it just doesn't feel good. I'm all from taking from the government, but I can't write that off on my taxes. That's crazy. It's not even it's like in beta, right? Like, is it even out of early access? I know I'm the one making the video, but honestly, I read like 3 different news articles that were all like a day behind each other, because the dev had to like come out again with that second update, and people were like so mad. It's just a whole mess. I can't even believe people weren't talking about the other microtransactions that they had announced a couple weeks ago, because yeah, I don't know. Now I guess it feels like double dipping. It does feel like with the Edge of Darkness edition, which by the way, you can't purchase anymore. Like, if you wanted a cheaper edition than the unheard $250 edition, you can't even go to that lower price point and get the Edge of Darkness edition. So it's kind of like putting people in a bad spot, you know? Anyway, I have to go. If you like this video, please comment and say something nice. It would mean a lot. I really appreciate your time, and if you want to see me in compromising nude positions, the links are in the bio. I can't imagine you would want to do that after all the flailing and snotty mouth sounds I made in this video, but I really appreciate you sticking through to the end. Like, this is really cool of you. Okay, bye, nerd.